Hello and welcome to Standing By, the show where we chat with the hard-working understudies, standbys, and swings, keeping Broadway's curtains up every night. I'm your host, Caskey, and we're here at Martini Ultra Lounge in the heart of the Broadway district, New York City. With me today is Linda Mugleston and Adam Jepsen from Broadway's Cinderella, now playing at the Broadway Theater. Welcome to the show, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
So let's talk about your backgrounds.
Okay.
Linda, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
I am from Shelley, Idaho, which is a small town in Idaho. I always say my high school mascot was a potato, and I'm not saying that as a funny thing. It's actually true, which is sad and funny. We were the Shelley Russets, very small town. I was married, and I came out here for my husband's work, but I always performed, and I thought, you know what, maybe I'll check that out. And so just auditioned and whatnot. And my first big job was on the town. It was my first audition with my agent. It was kind of got my equity card. Everything happened from that, which was kind of shocking and amazing. And I was very lucky. I've done a little regional, not much. Mostly stayed in New York City.
And your resume is quite impressive. You are the kind of the queen bee of standing by on
Yes,
Broadway.
well.
You've done On the Town, obviously, Into the Woods, Anything Goes.
Yeah.
I'm missing several. You want to give us the
Kiss Me
rundown?
Kate, Wonderful Town, 9, Young Frankenstein. I think that's it.
That's it.
Maybe. There's 8 of them, I think. 8 or 7. 7 or 8, whatever. I don't even know.
And how did Cinderella come about for you?
Cinderella was kind of, as I've said to a lot of people, kind of a gift to me. I was supposed to audition and I could not. And then all of a sudden it just,
I didn't know that.
yeah, I just got an offer to do it.
What?
I don't even know if I auditioned
did not
or not.
know that.
I knew the musical director and I knew Lee, the assistant choreographer, but the rest of the team I did not know.
Sure, I'm from a small suburb right outside Chicago on the northwest side. And I went to public high school. That's kind of when I started to do theater. Before that, I was a gymnast, competitive. So that was an easy transition into theater in terms of intense discipline, in terms of, and in dance. It really helped with flexibility, strength, coordination, everything. So it was a really easy transition in terms of being aware of my body. And then also helped with even just simple stuff with like theater and just standing and being rooted and having your base. And I went to Penn State.
Okay.
So that was also kind of a cry for get me out of here. At that time I knew I wanted to do musical theater. I did. So I actually left midway through my college career to do a tour of The Wizard of Oz. And I got cast as the Scarecrow in that. So I did that for 9 months. And thank God for that, because I had money to move to New York City after, which many people are, struggle to have. So this is my Broadway debut. Yeah.
And what was the casting process like for you? How did you get involved?
It was quite rigorous. It was.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was rigorous, but it was kind of, this is cheesy, but it was kind of a Cinderella story. It happened in the first month that I moved here, which is crazy. I had my agent from
That's great.
Showcase, so that's how I got seen. But it was rigorous. We went into dance first. I sang right after they kept me for that. Then I came into dance again. Then they sang me right after that. That was the second day. The third day they had me just read and sing, and they had me actually read for the Prince first. And I was given 2 scenes, 2 songs to learn. Then I went in a separate day to do that. And then they were like, no, we're not sure if you're right for that. Come in for Jean-Michel. So then they gave me 2 more scenes, 2 more songs. And then I was finally invited back to the final callback day, which was a full day from like 9 to 4, I believe. And it was just, with the smaller, tight group of people.
Right.
So in total, I learned 4 scenes and 4 songs. So they really put me through it. And now looking back at it, I'm like, well, maybe they were trying to test me because I'm a swing, just throwing stuff at me and see how quickly I could learn it.
How is this production different than what people are used to in seeing Cinderella? What changes have been made?
Well, it's more contemporary. It's more fleshed out. I mean, when Julie Andrews did it, those many years ago, it was written for TV. So there wasn't really any kind of a script. there was the lovely music and all of that, and so they, Douglas Carter Bean wanted to get a little bit of his more contemporary spin on it. And,
I think it's still the timeless show, kind of like a Wizard of Ozzy, kind of, in older generations, kind of like, can definitely still be, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Cinderella, but it's also very contemporary twists. But it's still the classic Cinderella, but there are some pretty big plot changes, which is why our show's interesting.
Right.
And good.
Linda, you're in the ensemble, and you're also an understudy. So what roles do you cover?
I understudy Vicky Clark, who plays the fairy godmother, and I understudy Harriet Harris, who plays the evil stepmother.
Seems to be a little good and evil.
All right,
It's kind of a nice balance.
Opposite ends of the
I
pole,
know,
yeah.
yes.
How have you gone on for both tracks?
Actually, this week I go on for Harriet, but I've been on. I know it'd be very exciting. And I've been on a fair amount of times for the fairy godmother. Vicky went on vacation, and so I had about a week and a half there, and so I've been on for that a lot.
I cover all the men.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Wow.
literally all the men. I don't cover any male principals though, but I cover all the men, all 8 men. What was that?
So Linda, you've done a lot of Broadway shows, and you've been the standby for a lot of the leading ladies on there. Do you typically perform in the ensemble and then cover, or are there more times in certain shows where you've just been standing by for those lead roles?
I would say the majority of the time I've been ensemble cover. Into the Woods I was standby for 5 roles, and Into the Woods, that was when I wanted to do, that's when I wanted to do myself a physical harm. I have to say, I'd rather do ensemble and cover. The reason being, when you're a standby, you're kind of in this nebulous world where no one knows you and you don't really get to know people, and you don't feel the stage and the energy nightly. So then when you go on, it's fine, but you haven't, you don't know the stage as well as when you do it every night. So, I mean, we can watch a fair amount of time in this show. But, going in, even way back when we had a bazillion script changes, I mean, I always have a goal when we start tech, I want to be off book for all my covers, completely off book. And so then all it is just the minutia of changing, changing lines and blocking things or whatever.
But I wrote all the tracks that I cover. Actually, for the 4 we have priority covers. So out of the 8 men, there's another male swing. I am a primary cover for the guys, and he's the other primary cover for the other 4. So for those 4, I wrote a Bible of everything I do, and I mean it is to the T
Right.
of like enter stage, left wing 2. So it's essentially written out so that someone who doesn't do theater could read this thing and know where to go. So that is quite helpful. Especially when you cover 8 tracks, because I went on for instance, someone left on a medical leave for a month for The Giant, so I did 1 track for a month. And that was really great, and that was actually my opportunity to like really get to know the cast and like feel what it was like to be on stage every night. So it was a really cool opportunity because I got to see and feel like I was part of the company. You get in this mindset of like, oh, this is my track, and then it's like, no, you need to know 7 more, So it's tricky though, because when you're doing something on every night, you still have to keep in the mindset of, okay, this person's here at the same time. So it's quite difficult, but those tracking sheets really, really help. And I kind of just know it now, and it's really incredible. And if you asked me that 6 months ago, I would not have thought that was possible. Really, it's quite difficult, but. And there are still small things that I check now, but it's just doing it all. I am there every day watching the show. It's not, and I do have these moments of, oh my God, I don't know this show. I don't know where this person is. And the best thing anyone ever told me as a swing is just don't panic. That's actually what our associate choreographer told me. Don't panic.
Her cheeks are a pretty shade of pink. What's the matter with them? Back getting pinker than a rose. Her skin may be delicate and so, but not any softer than a rose. Why would a fellow want a girl like her? A girl who's merely lovely. Why can't a fellow ever run free for a girl who's merely me? What's the matter with them?
My favorite moment to watch in the show is definitely the transformation scene. I think that is, it's so special, especially because everyone I feel like in the audience, it's like that. It's the day where something's different, and it's really magical. It's just. it would be the moment by far that if I were a kid watching the show would really be like, oh my God, this is so cool. And every night when you watch it, it just, the music together, the sound mixing together, the theater magic, the staging, everything. I still get chills sometimes when I watch it. It's just, it's really, it's special. And it's just, in terms of the story, it's just cool. It's blowing her mind, and that's my favorite moment visually. And it all happens so fast. The focus is, it's so clear, and it's just exciting. It's so exciting. That's my favorite moment.
You're right. The transformation is not my favorite because it's very precarious. And if you sneeze, that dress is, everything's going to happen. But it's lovely as the fairy godmother. After she comes, she has transformed Cinderella, and she's standing there, and she goes, and now as promised, in our laughter, glass slippers. I love saying that line and taking her hand just gently and backing away as they bring the glass slippers down.
Yeah.
That's such a lovely
Moment.
It's a lovely moment. There are many lovely moments in that. I like that a lot. I also love Harriet Harris when she discovers Jean-Michel.
Oh, God, I love that.
You know
that
what
was
I
my
mean?
second close.
I dig that a lot because Harriet is the real deal. And Harriet will change things up. She is
she
in it.
means it. She means it.
She's in it to win it.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Oh, God, she's
And
so good.
she is a force, and it's fun to watch that and hear that or be around that. 'Cause she's a good actress. In the various shows and the various cover situations I've done, there are varying degrees to which you have leeway or given leeway. I always think it's best, director type people, to allow within a certain confine the person to bring their honesty and their point of view, because then it's a truthful expression as opposed to being, I am now going to do this, whatever, and be like a robot type
doing
person.
what someone else does.
Yeah, I mean, but you have to a certain extent, because it is already a living, breathing, growing thing. It's in the moment type thing. So, and people expect certain line deliveries or certain things to happen at certain times, and so you don't want to mess up anyone else's show. But I think, like with my fairy godmother, I am definitely in the vein of Vicky, but I have my own spin on it because a lot of it is just me. Meaning I'm not going to bother anybody else's. Laura is game to play with whatever, and I've also played her mother in Anything Goes or covered that part, so she's down to play. Sometimes people are not down to play, but she is, and I feel very fortunate with that.
Yeah, for me it's a little more, it's more staging, so there's not much leeway, but all the ensemble parts that have lines, I've definitely taken my own spin on them, I think.
Yeah.
Belinda, why don't you tell us a little bit about the transformation since you are the fairy godmother?
Yeah.
What's it like being a part of that magical stagecraft and transforming from the old hag into a beautiful fairy godmother?
Right, it's good. I mean, at first, I was very sweaty. I mean, there was a lot of sweat on it because there are things, and it's rigged, and it's, there isn't much stage time for the fairy godmother, but when you do start in each of the acts, every moment is filled with some sort of something you're putting on or taking off or doing whatever. But in that scene, now I feel a little like that because I've worked out, I know what it's going to do. I know it's not a big deal if it doesn't do a certain thing. The costumes are cumbersome, but you just have to kind of deal with that. But it is kind of cool. The audience is always, they always respond to that moment.
Always.
In that scene, they always respond. It's very exciting, and it is kind of old school, but it still is like, oh my gosh, how'd they do that? So it is fun.
Did you get a lot of rehearsal time with the dress before
No.
you went out?
No.
Who did not get a put in for that? Me.
I did not know that.
No, I did not get a put in. Well, back in my day, we didn't have put-ins, or we didn't trail
That's
people at all.
true.
We didn't. You were just thrown on.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of shove with love,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, so I had flown maybe twice, but I hadn't sung flying, and then with the dress, just the day of, just kind of working with it. And I didn't really have my costume. Remember, I had that Mother of the Bride dress from 38th Street. It was just terrifying. It's unattractive. Not really super unattractive, but just, it wasn't as sparkly and fantastic as the costume is. But that was fine. But it's always about maintaining just your calm, and also know that fear is something that you create. Fear is you're fearing something that it hasn't even happened yet. So you have to conquer the fear. And once you kind of deal with that, you just go with what comes. You know what I mean? So.
What's the shortest amount of notice you've had for going on?
I'd second acted for Donna Murphy.
Okay.
With Tony voters in the audience. That was delightful. But that wasn't that big of a deal. But I just got dressed in the hallway. And they're like, you're on for Ruth Sherwood in the second act. Very good. So 15 minutes, 5 minutes. Oh, and anything goes. Oh my gosh, anything goes. Bless her heart. What's her name? Jessica Walter, who was the mother on Arrested Development. I think she emailed out or something. You know what I mean? Like she emailed or texted or something like that. And we had not started understudy rehearsals yet at all. 20 to places, and I'd not even put on a costume or nothing, whatever, nothing. And they were like, you are on. I'm like, pardon me, what was that? And they said, you're on. I'm like, oh my gosh. So that one was not my favorite, one of my favorite ones. That was not. And also for my very first time going on for Leah Delaria, I was at home making caramels. It was Christmas, and I was wrapping caramels. And they're like, Leah's out tonight. And I'm like, yeah. I mean, and I was so green, so very green. This is my first equity show, my first everything. So I didn't know how much work to do. And so I did not. I mean, I did, but I didn't. That's why I try to know as much as I can now, because I was on stage being told the blocking during the show.
Oh, wow.
Jesse Tyler Ferguson, we're dancing upstage center or whatever, and he's like, okay, after this little part here, you're gonna walk down center. Then you're gonna, I'm like, no, and that's when I went, you know what?
This isn't gonna happen again.
I don't think this is gonna, I think I have to go away from this situation. It was traumatic. And that's after the show, that's when you break down sobbing and crying and going, this is just.
There's no way.
Horrible. It was horrible.
Once upon a time, it was my Broadway debut. I think 2 of the female swings had been on during previews. We were 2 shows. It was Friday. We opened on a Sunday. It was March 1st, I remember very clearly. 6 weeks of previews. I still hadn't been on. And at that time, I was like learning this show. I was like, oh my God, when am I going to go on? And at that point, you're like, I just want to make my debut because I know I'm not going to remember it. I'm sure I'm going to be terrible. I just want to get it over with. Mm-hmm. 6 weeks of just sitting there waiting to go on. Didn't go on, and it was hard because you were learning all this material. Things are changing. I mean, it got to Friday. It was the Friday before we opened, 2 days before, and I was like, by now I'm not going on. Half hour, still not going on. 15-minute call to places, still not going on. 4 minutes after that, 11 minutes to places. We hear over the God mic, Robert, or someone's out in the ensemble. Adam Jepsen, you're on. They need to see you downstairs in costumes now. Now, because we were still in previews.
We don't have anything.
The swings costumes aren't a priority. It's the people who are actually on stage every night. I had most of my costumes. I'd say everything but maybe one. It was like a pair of pants for one costume there and a top there. And it was, oh my God, talk about like that moment of, I specifically remember I ran downstairs, stripped. They were throwing stuff on me, and I remember in the moment being so mad at the costume people. I was like, this is not fair. I want to be going over my notes, because it was like getting to 8 minutes to places, 5 minutes to places. I wasn't even in my undergarments to put on the outfit. And I had my notes written out at that point, but it was so fast I didn't even have a chance to look at my notes. But it was a crazy. I mean, there was everyone. It was the thoughts of there's no way I can do this.
It's so hard because you have to have. I think the best swings or covers have the correct mind and heart for it. Ooh, that's my mic. You have to have that because you're in such a vulnerable situation and you're in someone else's clothes and shoes, almost literally. And so then you have to be so courageous and just go and not go, this is what people see is not necessarily your product, but it is, but it's not.
Yeah.
And it's
so hard.
You feel so exposed and vulnerable
and it's you, it's you doing it. That's the thing about our profession. It's literally you. So it's
yeah, because you're the product,
So
it's so hard, and you have to be so forgiving of yourself. You have to forgive yourself, because if you can't do that,
you're done.
You're done.
That's the thing. And that was the thing that's hard for me is I'm such a type A personality. I want to know what I'm doing at this point. And there was a point where I was like, you can't. And you're going to screw up. She tells me that all the time. Like, you can't be perfect. You're not going to be.
There's no perfection.
There is no perfect. And that's what I said before when I said I grew a lot as a person. It's really that. It's just letting it be because you can't control everything. And not that I'm a controlling person, but you can't. Stuff happens, and you're gonna have to roll with the punches. And that's what I learned is like I honestly feel like I could do anything after being a swing.
You have to be
in
facile.
a Broadway show.
Yeah, you have to be very facile and just kind of be
Right.
where you're at and go with it.
Be present and just go with the flow. Be ready for anything because it's happened here at Cinderella.
Yes.
Well, that's all the time we have for today on Standing By. I'd like to thank my guests, Linda Mugleston and Adam Jepsen from Broadway's Cinderella, which is now playing at the Broadway Theater. For more information about the show and to buy tickets, check out CinderellaOnBroadway.com. To view more information about our guests and to watch other episodes, check us out at StandingByTV.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Until next time, thanks for watching Standing By.